Hello, my Bill 1000 Nation. How's everyone doing today? Hopefully, everyone's having a great day. If not, I hope it gets better from here. All right, we are back with a new MrBallen video. That's right, this one is titled This National Park Has a Death Trap. I'm excited. I like going to national parks. Maybe not after today. All right, I'm excited. Let's go ahead and get into today's story. Go ahead, turn the lights down low, put on something comfy, cup up with someone special. Oh, let's get freaking terrified of ever walking into a national forest ever again. Yeah, yeah.
Today's story is about an infamous caving incident. The reason for its infamy is largely because of a photo that was taken during the event. Now, if you didn't know anything about this photo and you just looked at it, it would be haunting and kind of unsettling, but when you have the full picture, the full context of what's going on in this photo, it will leave you highly disturbed. That photo will be shown at the end of today's video. But before we get into today's story, if you're a
I don't want to see the photo, MrBallen. I'm pretty sure I don't want to see that at all.
fan of the strange, dark, and
Oh
mysterious
God.
delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So, if that's of interest to you, please offer to cut the like button's front lawn, but when you're done, be sure to blow all the grass clippings through an open window into their living room. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into today's story.
Oh shit. Within reach.
On January 30th, 1925, a 37-year-old man named Floyd Collins walked through this huge forest in central Kentucky inside of a national park. As he walked along, his boots splashed in the melting snow and mud on the ground, and above him, all
That helps.
he heard was the sound of water dripping down amongst the leaves. It was warmer than it had been in several days, and so that was why Floyd was out here. He was trying to take advantage of the nice weather. And so after walking for a while on this muddy, slushy trail, the trees around Floyd began to thin out, and then eventually he reached the edge of the tree line, and in front of him was this huge clearing. Now, in this clearing, the trail he was on continued straight ahead, but it came to a stop in front of this huge cavern-like opening in the side of a hill. And so without hesitation, Floyd stepped out of the trees into the sunlight, and he walked the rest of the trail right up to the opening of this cavern, and he stopped and just stared and smiled. This cavern-like space on the side of this hill was the entrance to a cave known as Sand Cave. And Floyd had spent the last week coming out to Sand Cave and exploring the different tunnels, but today his plan was to go as deep and as far inside of this cave as he possibly could. Caves were a huge tourist attraction in this region, and Floyd was a very experienced caver who had been caving since he was 6 years old, and he knew that most of Sand Cave had not been explored.
I do like caving. I do. It is quite fun. I have not ever done it professionally. I would be way too terrified to do it professionally. Mainly because there's a lot of stuff you have to learn to like. It's not just, oh, I know how to climb down a steep cliff and I know how to rock climb out if I need to. There's a lot to it. More than I want to put into it, but it is fun, and I love exploring caves, especially ones that you get to go into new sections of. Like, you get to be the first person in however long to be that far. It is so exciting.
And so if he could go in there and explore all the different parts of the cave and map it all out and make sure it was safe, it was sure to be a huge moneymaker. He could bring people here and lead them on guided tours. So Floyd left the muddy path he had been walking on and stepped foot inside of this grand entrance to Sand Cave. It's basically this 250-foot wide cathedral-like space inside of this hill with ceilings high enough you could stand But it's totally dark in there. And despite being this big open space, it very quickly funnels to this one kind of tunnel that goes straight down and connects to all these offshoot underground passageways, many of which have never been explored before. And so, as Floyd walked...
My question. Have they not been explored because they be dangerous? Or have they just not been explored because up to that time they were dangerous enough? Like I imagine, I don't know about all caves in Kentucky, but there are some caves that do have water that runs in them and stuff like that. Maybe they just didn't have whatever equipment. Maybe there are certain gases built up in it. I mean, why have they not been explored? That's my question.
across this big open entryway, he lit his oil lamp and then began mentally preparing himself for what he was about to do, which was going to be very claustrophobia inducing, even for a very experienced caver. And so Floyd reached the back of this huge entryway, and he reached this tunnel that would connect to the rest of the cave, and he began walking down it. And this tunnel was not very restricting. You could stand in it, you could move around in it, but it was very short. It was 15 feet straight down at an angle, where at the bottom of those 15 feet was a square hole in the ground. And Floyd, having been here the previous week, knew that once you go through this hole, the real caving begins.
Anyone else see that shit? Hold on, let me take it back just ever so tenderly. Something bad happened in there. Something bad. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. That this is there to keep people out now. So there's some shit. There's some shit down in that cave.
Through this hole, the real caving begins. Now you're going to be down on your hands and knees, wriggling your way through these very tight and restricting areas where you don't really know where you're going. Because again, a lot of this stuff has never been explored before. But this is why Floyd loved caving. He loved the adventure and the risk of doing things like this. And so Floyd got to this hole, he put his oil lamp down on the ground, he casually lowered himself feet first into this hole, which dropped down several feet, and then once he was on firm ground, he reached up, grabbed his oil lamp, and pulled it into the hole with him. Once he was inside of this lower level space, he crouched down and looked around, and off to his right was a tunnel that he could crawl through that seemed to lead to a series of other tunnels. And so he puts his lamp in front of him, he gets down, and he begins crawling through this tunnel. And after a little while, he reaches this kind of fork in the road where he had several options of very narrow tunnels to choose from. Now, the previous week, Floyd had gone down several of these tunnels and mapped out where they went, but there was one tunnel in particular at this fork that was very narrow. It was likely the most narrow of all the tunnels, but from where he had seen the last week, it looked like it went pretty far without obstruction. And so he immediately began going head first into this tunnel where he had no idea where it was going to go. Think about that. If you go head first into a tunnel and...
No. Goes on my luck. I'm gonna get in there, get head first down that tunnel, and be like, everything's going good. Well, fuck me. And then I'm gonna have to back my ass back out of that. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I wasn't born with one of those beep, beep, beep on my booty. I don't think I'm gonna be able to back my ass up out of there. I have a feeling I'd die. Oh yeah.
You get stuck, what are you gonna do? You can't really go anywhere. So this guy is like totally fearless, just going head first into what most people would consider a...
Fearless is one word. That wasn't the word I was thinking. But fearless is one word.
Nightmare scenario. And so the way Floyd would approach these very tight tunnels is he would put his oil lamp out in front of him, and then he'd keep his hands over his head, and he'd kind of wriggle his way head first and push his lamp along the way. And so that's what he did. He began going into this really restrictive tunnel. You know, it's hard to...
He is a ballsy motherfucker, ain't he? Shit.
Breathe because the walls are so tight on his chest cavity. But as he's going, eventually the ceiling begins to slope upward just enough that he can pull himself up onto his hands and knees and kind of catch his breath. By this point, Floyd was approximately 55 feet underground. That's where this little pocket was, where he could get up on his hands and knees and breathe. And so from this position, he still could see with his lamp that this tunnel continued to snake further and further down. And his hope was that eventually it would lead to a big underground chamber that was not just big enough to go to your hands and knees on, but was big enough you could
Of a nearby. Real photo of a nearby underground chamber. There's clues all through this video. I don't think there's an underground chamber. I don't think there's an underground chamber at all.
stand and walk around in, because those were the big tourist attractions. Not only because it seems like another world underground that you can fully explore and walk around in, but also, as Floyd knew from his past experience of going into other caves, a lot of times those big underground chambers are full of Native American artifacts. And again, that was a huge potential moneymaker for people like Floyd, because it allowed him to advertise that this cave where tourists could go explore was full of all this rich history. And so Floyd eventually, after catching his breath in this little spot, got back down onto his stomach with his hands out in front of him, with the lamp out ahead of his fingers, and he began going deeper and deeper into this unexplored section of Sand Cave. And as he inched along...
Brosy's got some high hopes, bro. Okay, I do have a few questions on his high hopes. Was it legal back in the day for people to just take tours from regular people of caves? Like, would they get in potential trouble with, like, the wildlife people who actually take care of that area? Question 2. If he did come across some Native American artifacts, skeletal remains, or whatever the case may be, would he turn it in? And I'm asking because then it's going to be like an archaeological site, and he ain't going to be able to give tours of that no more, I don't think. Or you think he would just keep the Native American relics and sell them and just keep quiet where he found them, so he could still take tours and be like, hey, by the way, I found some stuff in here. There's still paintings and stuff on the wall. Just, yeah, come on down, take a look at it, see what you think. I was just wondering.
Even though the ceiling remained very tight on top of him, he's totally compressed to the ground, the walls on either side of him began to...
Bro. No. No. I don't like that. This motherfucker knows this ain't Minecraft. He can't just go like this and walls and stuff disappear, right? Like, he's gonna die.
To expand, which meant Floyd, if he wanted to, could actually turn himself around, although he couldn't stand up. And so Floyd is making his way down this very low ceiling area when he notices his oil lamp is beginning to flicker, which means it's going to go out soon. Now, Floyd wasn't concerned about suddenly being in the darkness.
Is it flickering because of the oil, or is it flickering because of carbon monoxide?
Inside of a cave. Now, to most people, that would be terrifying, but Floyd, again, was so experienced, he was very confident that he could easily make his way out again just by touch. He didn't need the light. But he did know that trying to move around inside of a cave in the darkness was dangerous, and so he should not do that if he could avoid it. And so as much as Floyd wanted to continue and hopefully find something incredible inside of this cave, he decided he really needed to just turn around and go back to the surface and come back the next day to continue exploring. And so, because this part of the tunnel he was in was really wide, he was able to turn himself around and drag his lamp until he was facing back uphill, and then he rolled onto his back. So his head is pointing back up where he came from, and his feet are pointing in the direction that he had previously been traveling, and he's on his back. And so his oil lamp is above his head. He can move his arms side to side because, again, it's pretty wide in the area he's in, but his head is pretty restricted by the ceiling. And he began inching with his heels and pushing with his...
Okay. 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 Real talk here. Real talk. The I would not be able to do what this man is doing, and I will explain real fast why. I would have seen this area, and I'd have been like, oh my God, that is like the coolest thing I've ever seen. I want to go in there. And then this other part of my brain would have took over. Now, we're going to call this other part of my brain the logical, illogical part of my brain. It's going to be like, bro, okay, what if it used to be taller? Like, what if for whatever reason it used to be taller and now it's not? What if that roof is like caving in? Do you really want to get your ass up in there and come out the other side of pancake? Because if it did slide, who's to say it's not going to slide again? With my ass in there, anything's possible. You know, that's the luck I got. But no, that would literally scare all the shit out of my body. I would propel back out of that cave. Oh yeah.
His arms moving up the tunnel on his back. And as he would move, he'd use his head and his hands to push the oil lamp back up the direction he was going. And for a little while, this system worked great. But at some point, right as he was getting close to that area where he was able to previously get on his hands and knees and catch his breath, Floyd accidentally kind of rushed and pushed his lamp too hard and knocked it over, which extinguished the light. And so suddenly, Floyd was cast into total darkness.
Fuck! Why? You, MrBallen, you can't do that and then go to a commercial. Commercial time.
Have you ever thought to yourself, wow, MrBallen is so cool. I just wish there was some way he and I could come together and lay the smackdown on the ultra successful, highly popular social platform Discord. Well, if that's you, today's your lucky day. Because our partners over at Discord just told me that if I wanted to host a live storytelling event on Discord, they would uncap the number of people who could watch it live. For reference, Discord has never done this before, because if you allow an unlimited number of people to join a live stream at one time, it could easily destroy the server temporarily. But you know what they told me when I asked them how they felt about having that be a potential outcome? They said, don't worry, John. That would only happen if you had at least 10,000 people on the show at once. And that's not going to happen. Those fools. In 2 weeks, on May 19th at 7 p.m. Central, I'm going to host that live storytelling event on Discord. It's totally free, and I need all of you fans of the strange, dark, and mysterious to do me a favor and log in right at the start, just so we can surpass the 10,000 viewer mark and destroy Discord's server temporarily. And then after they fix it, which will be quick, I will spend the rest of the live stream telling you stories. Joining our official MrBallen Discord server, where I'll do this live stream, is quick and easy. All you gotta do is click the link in the description, choose your adventure, agree to follow our community rules, and then on May 19th at 7 p.m. Central, click on the live storytelling event. Me and old Sing-Along will see you there.
Yes, sir, you will.
Now, again, Floyd was not concerned or really even scared about being in darkness inside of this cave, but this was not a good scenario and he knew it. But he told himself, stay calm, he knew where he was in the cave, he just needed to...
See, that's smart. He knew right then. He's like, oh, he caught himself before the freak out started. That's when people fuck up, when you freak out. Just keep it copacetic, man. Just keep it copacetic.
Get to that little pocket, he'd catch his breath, and then he'd continue his way back up, eventually reach that hole in the ceiling, that square hole. He'd climb out, make his way out of the cave, and boom, he'd be done. And so Floyd just continued to push the now extinguished oil lamp above his head, and he continued to inch with his heels and moved his arms around to keep going backwards up this tunnel. But then, right before Floyd reached that pocket inside of the tunnel where he could get onto his hands and knees, he heard the sound of falling rocks somewhere below him, kind of near his legs. Now it's pitch black, he can't see anything.
What the fuck did I just say? What if that area used to be taller? What if the part that you had to be like this, you could crawl in, and the other part you could walk in? Now that part you have to crawl in, the other part you're gonna die in. It's collapse. Was I correct? Is my potential fear and just of everything coming in handy? Oh, bro. Oh, that makes me so happy.
And so Floyd just kind of held his breath and hoped that whatever was happening wouldn't affect him. But then he felt a shooting pain in his left leg. A 27-pound rock had broken loose from the low ceiling and landed on his left ankle. Now, at first, Floyd was actually relieved that the rock had landed only on his left leg. And in fact, his leg was actually kind of positioned in a depression on the floor of the cave. And so the rock didn't really hit his left ankle directly. It kind of like hit the ground and then leaned onto his left ankle. And his left ankle was kind of protected in the depression in the cave floor. And so Floyd's thinking, thank goodness.
Ain't that some shit? Yeah, it would have landed on my face. I ain't even gonna fucking lie.
It only landed on my ankle and not on my head or my chest because
It's still on your ankle, bud. You're still in the cave. And does anyone know you're there?
then I'd be dead. And so, after catching his breath and kind of calming down, Floyd tensed his body and pulled his left leg as hard as he could to clear this 27-pound rock, but his foot wouldn't budge. And so Floyd thought he would just reach down and kind of dig his foot out. He'd just move the rock out of the way. But even though this cave had widened out on either side of Floyd when he had gone deeper and deeper into it, because he had retraced his steps, he was farther up the tunnel where those sides had really come in much closer to him. And so he wasn't able to actually reach down and touch the rock. The walls made it impossible. And so he wasn't able to use his hands to clear this rock. And so Floyd is pinned underground.
I would have shit all over myself. Oh, you can't do this. No. Yep. I would have shit literally everywhere at that point. I'm not even gonna lie.
Unable to move in absolute pitch darkness inside of a cave that's practically crushing his chest because the ceiling is so low, and he knows it's unstable. The ceiling has now fallen off, so there's a chance more rocks could come in at any time. I mean,
or what if more rocks already have, and now your way out is blocked?
this is like a worst case scenario for anybody who goes caving. But Floyd told himself to just stay calm. He knew this was a very bad situation, but people were certain to find out he was missing, and they knew he had gone to Sand Cave, and they would come here, they would find him, and they would rescue him. And so Floyd just decided he would wait. And for an agonizing 30 hours, remember, 30 hours of pitch blackness, trapped in a totally claustrophobic environment. 30 hours of this, no food, no water, can't go to the bathroom. He's laying there for 30 hours, and then finally, he hears a voice coming from somewhere near the entrance of this cave. And when he heard that voice, it was like the sweetest sound he had ever heard. Because not only did they represent help, but the voice was coming from Floyd's brother, Homer, who was also a very experienced caver. And so Floyd's thinking, thank goodness I'm saved. And so Homer was able to navigate from the entrance down all the way to the tunnel that Floyd was in. And Homer got to that spot in the tunnel where Floyd had gone to his hands and knees, that pocket there. So Homer's in that pocket, and he can see Floyd is only a few feet away from him. He can see Floyd's head right there. And so Homer, who had a lamp, he shines the light on Floyd, and the two brothers don't waste any time with small talk. Instead, Homer, who had his oil lamp, had set it up right next to them, and he began feeding Floyd sausage sandwiches sandwiches and giving him sips of water. And then Homer would tell Floyd that he just did not have the equipment to help Floyd get out right now, but Homer was going to go back to the surface, get men, get supplies, and then come back and save Floyd. And so Floyd is very thankful, he's very relieved, he says goodbye to Homer, and Homer turns and makes his way back up to the surface. 15 hours later, Homer would return by himself, and so at this point, Floyd has been trapped for 45 hours. And so Floyd, he's laying there kind of in and out of consciousness, and he hears the sound of Homer calling out to him, and then he hears the sound of Homer chiseling away at some rocks. It would turn out Homer's plan to save Floyd was basically to chisel away the side of this section of tunnel that Floyd was stuck in order to be able to reach down and somehow,
That's probably a really bad fucking idea, seeing that parts of the cave are already fucking... Why would you do that?
way clear the rock off of Floyd's leg and then pull Floyd up. Now, Floyd understood, of course, that this plan of chiseling away the side of this tunnel to make it wider was going to take some time, but luckily Homer had shown up with more food and water, and they chatted the whole time as Homer worked, and so Floyd was in good spirits.
Yeah, keep feeding him and watering him. Eventually he's going to just shit and piss everywhere. You're never going to get him out of there.
And Homer was very optimistic. But after 8
Especially sausage sandwiches. Oh my God.
hours of Homer slowly chiseling his way, widening this tunnel, he hadn't made much progress, and he was totally exhausted. I mean, you got to remember that the angle he was working at was horrible. He was basically crouched down on his hands and knees, chipping away at this rock. And so after those 8 hours, Homer would leave Floyd and go back home and sleep and eat and drink and kind of recover. But he told Floyd, don't worry, tomorrow more men will be here to help chisel away this tunnel and get Floyd out of there. But over the course of the next 50 hours, Floyd remained trapped inside of this tunnel with the rock pinning his leg, and despite Homer and several other men getting down there and very diligently chipping away at this tunnel, it just was not happening very quickly. And so over the course of those 50 hours, Floyd began going in and out of consciousness, and he began not being able to differentiate between what was real and what was not. At one point, he would say that he believed the cave had kind of opened up and these angels riding golden chariots with flaming wheels had come in to save him. And as they were lifting him out of the cave, he smelled food and coffee. And then suddenly his hallucination cleared and he realized he was trapped in the darkness all alone, still in this cave. And it was like it destroyed his morale. And so Floyd is really starting to go downhill, and the rescuers are realizing they need to do something, and they need to do something now. But at the 130-hour mark, things got even worse for Floyd. As he was laying there in the tunnel, this was sometime in the middle of the night, and so no rescuers were actively down there trying to chisel their way down to him. He was laying there, and he was listening to the sound of the running water somewhere outside the cave, and that sound was kind of amplified down to him. And then all of a sudden, he heard the sound of falling rocks somewhere up above. And then when those rocks stopped and it went silent again, he could not hear the sound of the running water. It was very muffled.
Oh, no.
And that was when he realized that there must have been a cave-in somewhere higher up in the cave, which meant potentially there could be a significant block just to get down to him. Forget about widening this tunnel. I mean, he could be actually entombed inside of Sand Cave. And so Floyd did.
It's like that one video. Oh, fuck. Dude went into the cave, got stuck. Like, they tried to help him, and they couldn't get him out, and they end up, like, capping over the whole thing. It was a MrBallen video, too. People need to stop going in caves. Man, I just put a video up just the other day. Don't go in strange holes. That was also about a cave full of Black Widow spiders, so he came out alive. No one died. Well, not in that instance.
The only thing he could do, which was to pray. It would turn out that cave-in had indeed blocked the way for rescuers to get down to Floyd. And because of how extensive this cave-in was, the rescuers actually decided to start carving a brand new tunnel that would join up with the side of Floyd's tunnel. I mean, this is an even bigger undertaking than just chiseling the side of the tunnel that Floyd was in, which
Too
was their
unstable.
original plan and had taken several days. And so now they have to build
Too
this
unstable.
brand new tunnel to Floyd. And so finally, on February 16th, 1925, so a staggering 17 days from the time Floyd got first stuck in this cave, the rescue team finally punched through and reached Floyd. And as soon as they did, the lead rescuer looked over at Floyd, and then he paused, he turned up, and he just said, "Dead." It would turn out shortly after that cave-in, which sealed Floyd in completely inside of Sand Cave, at some point over the next couple of days, those rocks began to break free and tumble down the cave and began striking Floyd until finally one or several of those rocks hit him in the head or chest and killed him. So just imagine you are trapped. You've been there for several days. You're in total darkness.
Oh my God.
You're entombed inside of this cave, and periodically rocks just come tumbling down and smash into you. Who knows how long it took to kill him, but that has to be one of the most agonizing ways to go ever. Shortly before that cave-in first happened, a photographer took a picture of Floyd, who at the time believed he was going to get out, and all the rescuers believed they were going to get him out. But shortly after this photo was taken, the cave-in would happen, and at that point, Floyd didn't know it, but he was doomed. Here is that photo. Floyd's body was eventually removed from Sand Cave. However, instead of being buried, because of the interest around this cave rescue that ultimately failed, there was a decision made to actually put Floyd's body on display inside of another cave. Basically, Floyd's body became a tourist attraction. And it
Mammoth
would
Cave.
remain a tourist attraction for decades until finally he was removed from that cave and given a proper burial.
That's crazy.
So that's going to do it. If you enjoyed today's story,
I did, MrBallen. I did indeed, sir. Wow, that's crazy. I've been to Mammoth Cave. I have. Been there several times. We used to go on field trips whenever I was in school. It was like the school's favorite place to go. That and Carter Caves, I believe. So I really enjoyed the story. I did. Like, that sucks that he died. Like, it sucks tremendously, but the story itself is amazing. Like, it really was. I liked it. All right. I don't ever want to go into a cave ever again. No, I'm good with all that shit. All right. Oh, damn. Spiders, caves, rock. Wasn't I just saying? Wasn't I just saying, though? What if at one point the top of that cave was higher? And, like, the part that you're crawling through, you could walk, and the part that you have to be on your stomach through, you used to be able to crawl through. And now, like, you're on your stomach and you're crawling through the whole thing. What if it, that would have been, I can't do shit like that, because even though it could be 100% safe and never happen, in my brain, I'm going to make damn sure that I talk myself into I'm going to die. I don't know why I do that. It's just something I do. So, live, I want to live mentality, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. Run, hide, scream, bite. It don't matter what you do. Okay. I really enjoyed today's story, though. That was amazing. Like, 17 days trapped in there, and then at the end of it, it took what? Mr. Bond said a couple of days to get the thing redug to him. So within a couple of days of that happening, those rocks just beat him to death. It's like, that kid was like, no, you son of a bitch, you're mine. forever. It's crazy. All right. Like I said, I really enjoyed today's video. If y'all enjoyed today's video as much as I did, please go down there, leave a thumbs up. If you're a fan of the spooky, scary, strange, deranged things that just make you never want to go into the Mother Nature ever again, think about subscribing. I don't want to leave my house half the time. I'm so scared. As always, be good to one another. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Yeah, no. Anytime I've ever gone into a cave, it's one I know. And I go into it not trusting it. I trust nothing at all in caves. Like, anything can kill you. Anything. Just remember that. You forget things want to kill you, you will die.